Before you get your pitchforks out, you can't have stragglers. Like, they stick out and
Not even one.
No. Everything you say makes you sound like such a boomer.
Let's get all these old dudes who are still in a Discord with each other
Hold on.
to go play.
No.
Do you hate yourself? What's going on?
I hate all of you.
Hey, I'm Max. I'm the raid leader for Liquid Guild, and I think retail is way better than Classic.
Hi, I'm Trill, and even though I'm PvP and PvE player on both of Liquid's teams, Classic will always hold a special place in my heart.
Hi, my name is Boomie. I'm a raider in Team Liquid and retail all the way.
Hi, my name's DesiHeat, and I stream World of Warcraft on Twitch, and I'm Team Classic, baby.
Hi, I'm Atlas. I play a DPS and sometimes tank at Team Liquid, and I play a little bit of Classic, and I love it, but I love retail more.
Hi, I'm Joardee. I am a Classic WoW streamer and content creator, and I've been playing since 2019 when Classic launched. Classic WoW is great, and retail sucks.
My name is Melia. I'm a talent manager at Team Liquid, and I manage Liquid Guild, and I am Team Retail.
Hey, I'm Winky. I'm a classic hardcore streamer, and I'm too sweaty for retail.
So, for the first prompt, the time I put into World of Warcraft is worth it.
Oh, yeah.
Yo, good question.
Alice, are you still?
Well, now I feel bad. No.
Do you hate yourself? What's going on? No, I think WoW, like, I met my best friends and I've done like the coolest stuff I've done in my life through WoW. And I think outside of everything else, maybe that's like we all got lucky or something, but that is really cool.
Yeah, I think WoW changed my life. I've always been a gamer, but so happy that I found WoW through my older brothers. And yeah, I became a streamer, and I love WoW. I think I'll always play it. Definitely worth it.
Do you feel like it's well spent for everybody?
There was like an entire like thing for years where it was like people were playing WoW and it was ruining their life, and that's definitely could happen to you if you didn't have any self-control or whatever. Like honestly, this could have ruined, if I didn't get really lucky, this could have ended up being a totally different story, right? Like maybe you guys can all relate. It's like, oh, well, there's a version of your life is where you did this too long and never really worked out. And then it's like, you could have done other things and it would have been a negative experience, but it just didn't. Maybe that's what he thinks.
Maybe, yeah. Well, I mean, like I've played for like 20 years since, the very beginning, and it's been beneficial for me in ways in and outside of like a professional way. I was happy that I played WoW when I was in high school and I was beating all my friends in the typing speed tests at school. Like and I made a ton of friends playing WoW. I actually played with my own cousin for 7 years and I didn't even know he was my own cousin. And I gained a family member by playing WoW.
I think for me, I had a hard time making friends growing up, and this was a really great way to do that. And like my parents didn't understand it, and like unless you're kind of in it, you don't get it. But it definitely helped me like branch out and become more extroverted. And
WoW definitely changed the trajectory of my life too, and I'm really thankful for all the opportunities I've been able to get from playing even just both sides of the game. I think I could have struck out trying to do one or just the other, and the fact that I've been able to do everything that I have in the game, doing both sides of the game that I love, I think is a really nice thing.
Speak.
All right, before you get your pitchforks out, let me just preface what I'm gonna say with, I love WoW, and I'm very thankful for it, and it's given me a lot of things in my life that I would not have without it. But I speak from like a very niche and specific standpoint where I've put a lot of time into the game and it's probably derailed me more than I've gained out of it. Although I can simultaneously like say, it's been really great for my life and I've expanded socially a lot from it and I've met new people from it that like I really, really enjoy and love and cherish like daily to this day. I think the amount of time that I've spent on it could have probably be spent somewhere else. Like for example, like trying to get into dental school or like some sort of other professional career that I'm trying to simultaneously do within WoW, where it's been kind of like a tug of war between two things. So if I could run it back, I would still play WoW, but I wouldn't get as far into it as I am now. Just to clarify something, I love this shit. I love it. It's so great. It's just a lot of time, that's all.
Same.
I feel like though the level of what we do, you kind of have to be all in to actually do it and accomplish anything on it.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the tough part, I think, to try to balance a real life goal and also put enough time in to where you can succeed at the level we do.
Yeah.
World of Warcraft would have died without the introduction of WoW Classic.
Yeah.
No.
well,
No takers?
Come on.
I think we all disagree here.
Same.
At least I don't even know if it's even a conspiracy, but like I think they came out with Classic and it popped off, but like they wanted to bring it back. So people like you are a perfect example. People who loved WoW and they just needed a chance to get back into it, and I think they wanted Classic to bring people back into retail. So I think the purpose of Classic, even though it became its own thing, let's get all these old dudes who are still in a Discord with each other
Hold on.
to go play WoW again. It's true. Okay, and then
I mean, I remember watching you like 2 days after launch, and you were in ZF, like you were getting booster or whatever, and I was like, that looks really fun. And then the next day I was playing, and like it was because of you. Like I was.
So you have tried retail since Classic, whether you currently play it a lot or not. You've logged in and.
I've played retail, yeah, since playing Classic, yeah, and like
Yeah.
for sure the pipeline that they're intending is you to get back into Modern, right?
Yeah,
But,
the
like,
content is like staggered, so
Yeah.
you can do both. There's a lot of
Yeah.
people who do both. So I think that might have happened. And I think but like it's hard to imagine a world where like in BFA that didn't happen. I don't know how many less players now, but I do know that retail has this steady stream of players that don't play Classic, that just log in and you never hear from them. They're not on Twitch, not on Twitter. It's like the vast majority of the game, and I don't think those players are affected by literally anything that happens online. And they're just hardcore retail lifers and are probably the reason the game never dies. And I don't think Classic has anything to do with that. But I do think Classic has revived WoW in the gaming zeitgeist. It has like made WoW significantly more relevant.
I find myself in like a category of like retail's my main game, but Classic has made me like playing WoW as a whole more, and it's like more of a social kind of like chill thing with my friends where like when we're doing Race World First Prep on like retail and stuff like that, I just sit there and I get like super burnt out, but like I still want to play the game because I really enjoy playing the game. So having that kind of like second medium to like explore that in a different setting has made me more willing to do stuff on retail even because I'm just like more fueled for WoW as a whole because of it.
There's a lot of people that like play retail and will talk in my channel and they're like, yeah, I don't play Classic, but I love like following Classic. And there are people who play Classic and just watch every minute of the Race World First in retail, right? So like they'll watch and consume retail content, but like Classic is their choice of something they'd like to play. And I find that fascinating too. You have to make a really good game for everyone, you know? So I feel like it's impossible to actually keep people drawn in the entire time.
Especially as an adult, like seasonal is way better. Like I don't want to have to keep up with something constantly. It'd be nice to take a break and then come back. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Everything you say makes you sound like such a boomer.
Retail is harder than Classic.
Oh, this is not even remotely. This isn't even controversial.
We do have more in common than we thought.
So when people are referring to this, it depends on what part of the game you play. So if you're determining to like the new content that comes out, or like the highest level content in Classic was raids. So if you compare that to retail raids, like no one on earth, even the most brainwashed Classic enjoyer, would ever say that like a Classic raid is harder than a retail raid. In fact, a lot of them would complain that retail raids are too hard for them to enjoy the game at all, right? So just without, I mean, obviously I sat down, so the answer is without a doubt retail is harder. That doesn't necessarily mean good though. Something being super hard doesn't mean it's awesome. Like hard doesn't equal quality. You could make any boss that's ever existed in any MMO a little harder and it becomes impossible and it's not a better boss, right? So it's not about quality, it's about difficulty. Retail's way harder, it's not close. Maybe questing though, like questing in Classic certainly is more difficult than questing in retail. You can pull a million things and you level instantly. It's a totally different experience. But I think that would kind of be the only argument for Classic is like, I'm a leveling only player. And I've tried leveling in retail and I've tried leveling in Classic, and Classic is way harder. And I think that's accurate. But I think that's kind of the only leg you have to stand on. Maybe you guys have more input.
I wanted to chime in on the one of the parts of Classic that's been more recent, and that's the hardcore servers. And I think that there is difficulty in playing WoW with one life, and there are so many different other mechanics in Classic that you don't even really see anymore in retail. And you have to know what they will do in order to counteract them. And so you'll go into a hardcore Classic server and you won't know what this mob will do. It'll root you for 10 seconds and you can't run away, and then suddenly you're dead. So I do think that there is difficulty in Classic, but it's not the same kind of difficulty that retail pushes on you, where you're moving out of 10 different swirlies at the same time and there's other mechanics to dodge.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say, is like the difficulty in Classic is just like information based, because back then the game was super janky. So, you know, like stuff that is completely unfair would get you, and you'd sit there and be like, oh, this is so hard. But if you had just known it going into it, you wouldn't have done something that got you killed or something like that. But like objectively, like in terms of like what creates difficulty. It's like ease of access through adversity. And retail has that to like a way higher extent than classic does, because classic is just, you know it, you do it. Retail is, you know it, but you have to execute it to a certain level.
There's also like institutional knowledge from like the guilds in the past. Like I play Kato a lot, and there has not been a raid release that's not been fully cleared within like 2 hours since Classic Vanilla launched, right? Like Heroic Lich King 0% is the hardest boss Classic has seen, and it was one shot by the world's best guild. So it's like, where you guys sit there for a week or two and bash your head against something, like we get to go and look at your logs or your old videos and like scrub through it all. And so like, it's just innately gonna be easier because it's already been done.
Well, the only reason that something like hardcore is even a thought in classic is because of the ease.
Yeah.
Right, like for example, you could just apply the exact same concept to retail. Like, oh, do you have to know what mobs do? Could you imagine if you tried to play hardcore in retail and you got to max level and like, and you pull like the first mob in a Mythic Plus dungeon, and it's just like, what does this do? Oh, you just instantly die, right?
Yeah.
So like, you don't do it because of, I mean, just objectively every mob, and this, again, may not be a good thing that it's gone this far, but like, every mob or boss is trying to do 10, 20 times more things than a classic mob is right now.
I think it's kind of important when we talk about difficulty as a word to understand that difficulty in retail or classic is an adjustable like sliding scale. So that when you're looking at a game like retail, it's a different type of hard than classic is, in my opinion. So you've got like retail, you've got your bang a head against a wall, you're progressing, you're trying to figure out the best way to do things, or you've got arena and you've got to keep track of 55 million cooldowns and you know what your team's doing at all times. And then in classic, it's more of a player community-driven level of difficulty where it's a solved game. The only way to make a solved game harder is to do it better and do it faster and min-max harder. So you can make classic almost as hard as you want if you're in a speedrunning raiding guild. You find like-minded people that say, Molten Core is too easy, let's do it in 40 minutes.
15 minutes.
15 minutes, yeah, let's see, and then every single week, let's try and make it better and better and better. And then it becomes the difficulty of somebody just died with world buffs, you screwed the entire guild this week, and then it does feel difficult in that moment.
Yeah.
And then you've got hardcore WoW, which is as Trill said, it is kind of less of a APM difficulty. Yeah, everyone can agree. Classic WoW is not a high actions per minute type game, but it is a straight knowledge check. That's all hardcore WoW is. Like you need to know that one mob can sheep you if there's more than one person on the threat table, and if there's only one person on the threat table, you'll never get polymorphed, and that polymorph will kill you. So it's like, it's a weird, you gotta have just stupid, dumb, nuanced knowledge of the game, which is probably like why we're good at it over here.
Do you guys think retail is too hard?
So something he said that I thought was interesting is like you have looking for raid, and then you have mythic, which is hard. Even within mythic, if you're killing the boss in the first reset it's available versus the last week of cutting edge, those are two, maybe even multiple difficulties within itself. So it kind of depends on when you're killing the boss. What Blizzard is trying to do right now, I think when you talk about too difficult, I think Mythic Plus has had that conversation because it's just like, well, it seems like we're doing the same key levels every season, but now the mobs are just trying to do more, and they've actually recently pulled back on that. So I think Blizzard has even admitted that Mythic Plus was becoming too difficult, even though it's an infinitely scaling game mode.
Yeah, I was gonna say, how does it get too difficult if the whole game mode is all about getting as far as you can? Is it people just get mad because their number isn't the same as it was?
Rewards based.
Rewards based, yeah. So like for a while, they kind of moved Mythic Plus scores up and down, but let's just call it a 5 for now. For many, many years, a 5 gave you the best reward. It gave you the best loot at the end of the week. And then they bumped it to, over an expansion or so, they bumped it to a 10, and 10 gives you end of week the best loot plus these like once a season portals. So now the community viewed it as, oh, well, that's the level I need to do, because that gives the thing that I need, right? But that's way harder, it's scaled harder. So that was one thing, but then also people started using stops on every pack, the cast didn't matter, so they've been messing around with like making every pack just kind of seem like it does so much more. But because the good groups can stop every cast and the lesser good groups obviously don't, it just kind of seems like the dungeons have gotten way harder because they're just doing more things. Now raid, Raid is weird because they're trying to make the raid difficult for the best guilds in the world, but also at some point in the patch attainable for everyone who's doing Mythic. They want you, if you're in Mythic, to be able to clear it, and that's why they have a stacking raid buff. So like the version you're killing at the end, you have like, how big is the buff
18.
now? 18% damage and healing, and it's been nerfed like 1,000,000 times. You know, and you've naturally gotten a lot of gear. So like the level of difficulty it is at the end, they're trying to make it accessible for a large group of people.
So as a player, do you feel a sense of accomplishment if you do get cutting edge right at the end with an 18% buff, or do you personally want to actually fight it out and try to do it the hard way? Because in my opinion, I would want to. It's like the Elden Ring effect, right? Where you like, I want to beat this and I want to beat it my way when it's hard and I don't want to get any help.
Well, I get questions like this all the time, and people are asking like, why don't you make a world first mode? Like basically, yeah, you can still nerf the content after that, but like people could go back and actually try the version of the boss.
That would be cool.
So you think that would be cool for a second, and then you ask yourself, who are you making this for? And it would be, what, maybe the guilds who kill it in a few months, but how many of them are gonna be like, oh, let's go try to do this? Because I promise you, you go try to do the version of Tindral we did, or the version of Anstrek we did, and even those guilds are just gonna be like, there's no way. Like, it's just too hard.
To be fair, like from a viewer perspective, watching the world's best guilds do Race to World first is really good for Blizzard. It's good marketing and all that stuff. So like, is the development time worth it for that maybe? I don't know.
Yeah, no, exactly. Is the when you ask who you're making it for, you'd have to ask yourself, how much time we have to spend and who would be even using this content. Like, cause like, kind of like the Final Fantasy Ultimate model, it like doesn't really get nerfed, it just kind of stays there. And you just do it at min-eye level basically, and that's the case. Like you could look at a version of WoW that's like that, but I think that WoW rating is already so hard, and getting 20 people together is already so much of a challenge. I just think the difference between the lowest level Mythic guilds that expect to clear and the highest is so big that they're stuck in this, like, we just have to release it at this point and then just nerf it and make people stronger, and it is weird, but.
Do you think that's a community created issue though? Because I feel like as someone from the outside looking in on retail, the guilds that get to compete for Race to World first, you know, the liquids, they exist because the resources that it takes to compete at that level take almost an entire server of people contributing to get. I remember, like, and this is me just completely not knowing anything about it, of course, so feel free to correct me. I'm probably wrong about a million things. But like, I remember at one point there were, you know, you'd pop into Trill's stream and he's running splits on 16 different monks with viewers that are just like funneling loot.
Yeah.
Right? And then you're borrowing millions and millions of gold from players on the server. So it's like, do you think if there was like a Mythic mode that was not a difficulty, you know, there's no crutches involved, like, and it was just available, do you think at some point other guilds that maybe want that chance to be able to compete in like a high level arena, but they just don't have the support, they don't have the monetary backing that a team like Liquid has, could get together and like just try to bash their head against the Mythic mode of the Race to World first mode of the raid, and maybe like prove their worth? Or you could even look at it as like, hey, maybe there's this one guild just like really performing really well, maybe we can, you know, involve some of their members and recruit from them.
You're picking up on a lot of things that we kind of already try to do at least.
Oh, okay, cool. Well, make me feel good.
Yeah, so there's a few things to that. So number one, all the gold we're buying, all the splits we're doing, when you're watching him do, instead of just 5 splits, his like 14th and 15th character or whatever, that is to get like, I'm not even making this up, it's like 0.6 guild eye level, which matters. Yeah. And gives you options. But like when you're talking about, do you have the resources? Almost all the resources you explained go into getting enough gear in the first weeks, because gear is so important. But that's the gear that everyone in the game gets by default just by playing the game in 2 weeks. We just want it 2 weeks earlier. So every guild, as far as the amount of effort that goes into getting our guild really prepared and whatever, like that is, you're already using our strats and our weak ores or whatever, right? So it's just about having the gear. You're gonna have that gear, it's just 2 weeks from now. So you could perform that mode 2 weeks from then and you'd have the same gear we do.
Oh, okay.
But one thing you don't have is, it's just pure player skill. And so because we were like, us and Echo were at the top for so many years, and all we did to get better players, I'd be interested to hear how you guys did this in Classic, is we basically just recruited the best player of the other best guilds in the world. Like, we don't take applications, we just are usually looking to recruit the best player of like the 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th ranked guild, and maybe we'll see how they work out, right? You do that for 5 years, and your guild is like, the player skill difference is just absolutely, that is by far the biggest gap that other people wouldn't be able to make up.
Okay, so you don't think like any mom and pop guilds that are trying to test their hand at like race to world first difficulty would queue in like a month afterwards and you'd find some diamonds in the rough in there at all, you know?
Oh, for recruiting? I mean,
Or not even
I mean,
recruiting.
if someone like actually was able to kill like the version of Ansarek we killed, like literally just be able to do the damage to kill it at any point in the patch with the gear that we had, like that would be seriously impressive. You would absolutely look at those people. But I also would be willing to say like that, like the really hard bosses, that Tendril, Halandris, like I think most guilds, no matter how good they are, they would quit trying that boss before that. I think it's possible that all of them would kill it, but I don't think it would be realistically possible before they would quit to being just not having fun.
I think the format of how we do raids right now and the level of involvement and skill required to do what we do requires everybody on the entire team to be at that same level. You can't have stragglers. Like they stick out and not only
even
do this,
one.
if you stick out once,
You could
it's
not
like
kill a boss.
almost
Impossible.
instantly over.
It's an impossible.
You can't
kill
carry
boss.
people through it. So if you were to like put yourself in this hypothetical scenario, let's say mom and pop guild coming into it like 1 month late, and you're like, could you find somebody good enough in there to kill the boss? You'd find 20 moms and pops that would be good enough to kill the boss. Otherwise, they wouldn't kill the boss. So.
True.
Yeah, if you found, yeah, no, seriously, like you can't, there is no, like when you're talking about a straggler, everyone have ever rated knows what a straggler is. It's like that person in your guild that it's like, man,
The resto druids.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, we really like this person as a person. They're a vibe. And like, but like sometimes they die a lot and that kind of stinks. Okay, that's not only can you not have that person, a straggler in this scenario could be the literal best player in like the world ranked 60 guild, and that's not good enough. Yeah, no, to answer your question, if this mode was available where someone could kill Ansarek or Fireak and actually have to do the entire fight and have enough damage and optimize the damage you have to kill it, we would be seriously
We'd be competing with them.
Yeah, they would be as good as us probably.
Yeah,
like that,
true.
like that's the level. That's how hard these bosses are.
You know, for everything that you guys have been talking about, I think that's why retail is more difficult than classic, because in classic you can have like 10 stragglers and you're still gonna kill the boss.
Not at the highest level if you're comparing highest level to highest level, right? Like if you're going for the world first
maybe not
kill
10.
or speed kill, you couldn't have stragglers
But you
either.
can carry people in classic
Yeah.
raids, and you can't on retail. So doesn't mean classic. I mean, I love classic, super enjoyable. That's why I play it. But I play retail to go really fast and to, I don't know, kind of like test my own reactions. You know, like how am I doing? I don't have to do that on classic.
Yeah, but you could also, going right back to the beginning of this, hard or difficulty being related to quality, there are a lot of people who play classic and they enjoy it more literally for the reason that it is simpler and that they can have fun and joke around and drink during a raid with their friends and not feel like they're holding anybody back. And that's a big reason. Like you talk about why people play retail and classic, I think that might be the biggest. How you want to feel when you're playing the game. Do you want to be like trying to get better? There are people who we're obsessed with that. That's why we do this, right? But there are a lot of people who are not. You know, they just want to hang out. And classic is a great game for most people to hang out and just like clear the hardest content with your friends. Not like there's no difficulty modes, right? There is the raid for many, many expansions. That I think is what people look forward to. Like to get the best loot and to do the hardest content in retail, you have to be like really personal improvement focused at some point to be able to do that. And I don't think a lot of people want to do that.
We went past this part of the discussion before. I want to go back to it. Do you think that it would have been a bad thing to have like this week's version of Ansarek, like all the nerfs and stuff, just with no like % scaling damage buff? Do you think it would have been bad for like the Race World First to have that level of Ansarek, like that version of Ansarek, as a version we would have killed it at? Because we had 400 pulls on the boss, right? That's a lot of pulls and way more than any other guild would be willing to put into it.
Yeah, correct.
Do you think that version of the boss and all the other versions of the bosses that we have now would have been an acceptable version for the Race World First?
I feel like we would have killed it in like 20 pulls.
20 pulls, you think?
I mean,
Not 20,
No.
but something
Wait, I'm
like
actually
that.
really confused. Well,
No damage scaling buff, but one less web blade, the condemnation setting less.
Oh, the
hard.
nerfs
Yes.
version of the
Yeah,
boss.
helped,
We would have
yeah.
smoked that boss. Yeah, like it would have. Yeah, no.
I think it's acceptable, but I also think that the tuning of this stuff shouldn't just be right on the precipice of what's doable. I think that like strategizing and coming to solutions to problems quicker as the form of difficulty, as opposed to just like the number being hard, is like more enjoyable, more fulfilling for me personally
agree with that.
on what the race like feels good about doing, rather than just like, you know, one guy died, like 5 minutes into the poll, you just wiped that 0.1%.
Yeah.
GG's. Like,
You guys definitely have a vested interest of it being hard, right? Because it means that, you know,
It would kill our content if it if it were to be made
but
super easy.
at the same time, as a viewer, it's really fun to watch you guys bash your head against something like Halandris. As much as you hated it, as a viewer, it spawned memes. Everybody was losing their minds. It was really fun as a viewer.
Oh, we loved Halandris. Halandris was one of the best bosses ever.
I feel like the tuning, they do a pretty good job for you guys. The rest of the game, the rest of the players, maybe it's not good. Obviously the nerfs come in and stuff, and that's why they do it, right? It's like...
It's an impossible job. They have to make a boss hard enough for us and it also not be completely bullshit for other guilds, and that just involves time and nerfs and gear and scaling buffs. But they have, and think of the alternative. Let's say some people in the community got what they want, which is like, stop making bosses for Race World first, make them pick another target of the guild. A World 100 guild should be able to do it in week 1, right? So we go in and like just like 10 shot all these bosses. The Race World first isn't that big of a deal. They would get destroyed publicly for this. The Race World first has an insane amount of, and they would just be like, what? Where is this content? Why is this content gone, right? So they're kind of stuck. They feel like they have to do this, and they can make a boss that's hard enough for us, and it not be bullshit for, I guess, anyone down the line from World Rank 1 to World Rank whatever that gets cutting edge. It just involves proper nerfs, tuning, and good boss design, which does happen, but it's also just they make a lot of bosses, and it's hard, you know.
Happened in Abris. I think Abris was great.
What's the thing about Abris, though? In Abris, they gave us 6 more eye levels every week than we would normally have in that week, which made the raid just seem easier. So maybe that's the thing. You just, in general, but also
gearing. Just accelerate gearing in general.
Yeah, but I mean, a lot of Race World First guilds hated that. We put in 6 months of effort. You guys are making 15 characters for us to raid Mythic for 3 days. You know, that kind of sucks.
That feels not worth it.
Yeah, sucks. So.
Like, I'm looking at this from 2 different lenses because I started playing in 2009 in Wrath, right when they added the looking for group tool. So I never experienced the go to the summoning stone and wait for 40 of your friends. I never experienced that. I've always kind of had like a little bit of easy mode. And then in that time, the game was difficult for me. I'm a new player learning. I gotta go collect these like tokens for Hodir rep and like turn it in and all this stuff. So at that time, those things were hard, but I think retail is harder. And that's why I hesitated, because my brain is going in like different directions of what was difficult when. But right now, the encounters are very difficult. Like the stuff that I'm seeing on the screen for these fights that they're doing, the colors are all blending together, their abilities are like, I don't know what is what up from down. So that, I think, has progressively gotten more difficult. I can agree there on the raids and Mythic Plus encounters, but I am looking at it also from, like I just said, how I used to have to grind rep. I used to have to carry ammo with my hunter. I used to have to do all these things that I don't have to do now. So in that way, I think it is easier and more streamlined. But again, I never had the classic experience where I had to go out and like forage for things. I only recently played hardcore last summer, or 2 summers ago. And the whole time, my friends that I was playing with convinced me to play, and they were like, no, this is the good old days. And I was like, what do you mean I have to go across to this continent to get this one thing and then go here and then I have to go here and like I have to get a million things to make Band-Aids now, like what? I
think in Classic the challenge is trying to keep your bags organized. And you know, yeah, like what are we leaving in the bank? What are we taking?
The worst,
especially if you're a warrior.
You're sweating at the bank.
Funny enough, that's where retail's at now too. You go to a new zone and you just get bombarded with 30 things in your bags.
How big are your bags now? Like 36 or something?
Yeah,
36.
I open my bag thing and my menu goes like across my screen.
No, it's too much.
And it's still filled.
It feels like, you're just like, if it's there, I can pick it up. It's just like...
Retail players are more toxic than classic.
No.
Okay.
Oh, you want divisive? Why not?
Yeah.
Yeah, why not?
I think that we can be. Everything is so easy now, and you don't need other people to play the game, that it's really easy to just be like, you stood in something, get out of my group.
Yeah, if someone messes up, you can just vote to kick, right? Mm-hmm. You can vote to kick, or they'll just leave, right? Like, isn't like Mythic Plus infamous for tanks leaving? Like, oh, don't piss off the tank. Like, you're scared.
Yeah, or
like,
people
don't piss
from
them off
certain
because he's gonna
servers
leave.
just leaving.
And then that kills your key, right? Yeah, whereas in Classic, not that we can't be toxic, we're still WoW gamers at the end of the day, all of us. But I think you just go a little bit easier on everyone, you know?
I think that the way retail is played kind of leans into a world where players can be more toxic, especially when there are some keys where you make one mistake, you wipe one time, you can't time the key anymore. The PvP player base especially, I feel like, has a lot more toxic players in it that are very elitist and expect people to do things a certain way, and when they're not done that way, oftentimes they're not gracious enough to explain things or be patient with newer players in the scene. So I think that PvP especially is one where there are definitely more toxic players than other parts of the game.
I originally hesitated because I hear a lot of like horror stories coming out of Classic of like people just being jerks or like extremely rude or something like that. But then I paused and then I remembered that the retail PvP community exists, and I'm not even a part of that. But just from secondhand exposure, some of the things that I've heard people say and do from the PvP side can only be described as like the most heinous crimes committed against humanity online. So for that reason alone, I sat up here and I was
Solo
like,
Shovel brings out the worst in people.
Yeah, they're psychotic.
There's an extra level. Yeah, I actually, so I was gonna make the argument that, especially as a streamer, it seems like Classic can be more toxic. But then I remembered that RBGers exist. and that is, I mean, it's just, there should be a documentary made about that. Like, it's unbelievable. They would like DDoS members of their that they usually play with, but they had their IP, but they'll DDoS them if they're playing with another team, and then they'll just queue up with that person again the next day, like it's normal, like that didn't happen, right?
Yeah,
it's really wild. Okay, but then also, like, I think part of it is information economy, like, and I think a lot of it is the year you're playing the game in rather than the game you're playing. Like in Classic, you made bigger relationships with people to even get in a group with them in the first place. So because you've already done that step, you might be more willing to like let a mistake go or be like, it's all right, man, you have a deeper relationship with them. Now it's like you just join a group and there's this person, they might be wasting your time. The way that you create groups in Mythic Plus, you are already like very selective with who you bring in, and that's your time, that's your key. Oh, you just wasted my time, right? You could look people up. Back in Classic, you couldn't like really do that. There's just other ways to get information now. But why I almost said the opposite was Classic, like as a streamer, there's this thing where like, I don't know if this exists on the other side, maybe Classic streamers could clarify, but like, I don't know if every time Classic's doing well, retail people are coming in and they're just like, or anytime Classic has no viewers, they're like, Classic is dead, Classic sucks. They like feel like they need to tell you that Classic is bad. Kind of like how like PoE players have to tell you they think Diablo's bad. But like, I feel like retail players, like you as a retail player, you get that from the Classic viewers. They're like, they want to tell you anytime they think, for them it's so important to them that the game that they don't play anymore is bad and no one likes it, right? And I think that is like so toxic, and that seems to be really prevalent.
It's like that meme where it's like, like retail's dead, and you're like, we don't think about you at all. Like,
yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah, it's like okay, man, Yeah. So that, I guess.
I've seen some awful stuff. I think Classic itself doesn't protect the player in the way that retail does nowadays, and as such, it enables bad behavior from people, and it's more anonymous, like you were saying, so you can make an alt account, like world buff purging, auction house scams, camping summon spots, just really degenerate, awful stuff, and none of that's even touching like the blatant racism that's often on the internet and stuff. And I feel like Classic draws a lot of those people. Someone said, if you're playing Classic WoW, you're either a dad or a racist. And it's like, it's more true than not sometimes. And I don't think stuff like that's as prevalent in retail these days. So.
I think Classic is way more toxic than retail. And I think it's because of what you guys spoke about earlier, when you said that Classic kind of forces the social interaction more. Like, you would like to think like, oh, we became friends in the Dead Mines, bro, and now we're in Scarlet Monastery and you made a mistake, I'm gonna let that slide. And no, if you don't perform the way you're expected to perform, especially when it comes to raiding and with the parse mentality and all this stuff, it's dog eat dog, and they will call you out immediately. And in retail, I feel like I can talk shit. The people that are still playing are the people who are like degenerately addicted to classic WoW. And a lot of those people came from private servers. And private servers are the Wild West. That's where the racism comes in. And then you've got the people who their entire existence is based off of farming the drama from private servers in and out of the game. You've got people getting doxxed, DDoSed. I've personally had people from the classic community send me photos of my house. It's crazy.
Wow.
So it's like, I think that maybe it's kind of like we put on the goggles in the game. Whatever community you're the most invested in is the most toxic to you.
Hardcore WoW players love pain.
Why would you play if you didn't like pain? If the whole point is the difficulty and the fear of losing your character, then I feel like...
I don't think my heart rate has ever reached levels in the entire time I've played WoW when I'm like close to dying. And this was a while ago, because as you keep playing HC, you get better and you don't get that rush anymore.
I think hardcore content as a whole is just made to be hate watched. So, you know, like if you're playing it, then you're chasing the rush of proving the hate watchers wrong. And if you're watching it, you're just hate watching, hoping somebody dies. So there's a certain level of masochism on both sides there.
I do think that a lot of people just like the feeling that they get when there's something at risk. You're going to lose something when you die. And because there's no, like the worst part of Classic when you die normally is you just run back. Sure, it can be a couple of minutes to run back to your corpse before normally, but you're putting in all of this time and effort, and then it just vanishes.
I mean, like, most of the time in storytelling, the reason something is interesting is because the stakes are high, and in hardcore, the stakes are really high because you make a mistake and it's gone. So I feel like you gotta love pain. It's like the highs are higher, the lows are lower.
Yeah, also if you do die, which we all die playing HC, right, at some point, you're probably thinking about it for days or weeks. I mean, I'm still thinking about it, it's been years.
I'd also like to elaborate my stance. I don't think everybody that plays hardcore is in it just for the pain of it, but if you die and you boot up another character, there's nothing driving you other than just hatred.
Yes.
So, yeah. If you just won and done it, you know, you gave it a chance, didn't work out, you got defeated,
right.
You got killed, you're done, cool. But if you boot up another character or even think about it as a possibility for yourself in the future, yeah, you're just there to suffer.
I think it's painful, like I talked about earlier, just dealing with the systems and like the length of time it takes to do something in Classic versus, I don't want to like brain rot autopilot everything in retail, but when I'm questing or when I'm doing anything and it takes 3 to 5 times longer to do it here than it does here, that is very painful for me. I just want things to be efficient and I want to just relax in my game, and hardcore is not the environment for me at all, but.
Well, it's interesting because the fact that things take 3 to 5 times longer makes hardcore more important because everything is a risk, right? And so even though you're traveling from one side of the continent to the other, you could die during that. So like you have to be
alert.
It's easier to feel engaged, right? If you're just, you know, multi-lifing it, you just hit auto run and then turn on a YouTube video. So it makes it more fun.
It does just make you have to pay more attention to what you're doing at all times.
Yeah.
Oh no, I feel weird.
You don't like pain?
I think I'm in a weird position when it comes to hardcore WoW. I don't think it's people that hate themselves or they enjoy pain. I think that there is a level of like masochism that comes into anyone that plays one life game modes. The end game of hardcore WoW starts at level 1. And like, let that sink in, because it's a weird thing to think about. The end game started the minute you logged into the world. You were like, okay, cool, now my goal is done. The only goal I have is to just not die anymore. So I found it relaxing and peaceful to like follow along the role play of my story, of my character. And it felt like early days, it was much more RP centric. It was much more dedicated to people that it was like a love letter to the game itself. And you just really, you would stop and you'd take your time and you'd sit and turn your UI off and take a screenshot of like the sun coming up over the ocean, and you'd be like, this is so cool. Like, this character's never died. Like, it's just like a cool thing. So like, I don't know. I don't think I found it painful ever. I've never had a painful moment.
Playing hardcore, though, what that does is it makes you start to take more precautions when you're playing. It makes professions matter more. You start to use more alchemy potions, or you target dummies. Just more recently, I was watching Grace for Days. He was doing a run where he couldn't loot mobs. And so you start to like fish for gear. And I watched him get so excited when he would fish up a green from a box. And you just don't get that normally. And that's the kind of special part of Classic that you just don't get normally.
A lot of those really cool moments of like getting excited about something come from it being solo self-found. So I'm really excited that Blizzard retroactively added this self-found checkbox to the hardcore when you make a character, because it brings that like, if you want something, you have to work for it, and then you feel good when you earn it. You know?
Guys, don't take the propaganda from Big Suffering over here.
I wouldn't be where I am today without World of Warcraft.
I would say that I definitely wouldn't be where I am today without WoW. I've made some of my closest friends online. I value and cherish them forever. I've gone on trips with them, I've spent time with them, I've partied with them. I've loved my time playing the game. I've loved my opportunities that World of Warcraft has offered me, and I consider myself a better person overall because of it. But it's been something that's been very, very formative in me, my personality, and my social relationships, so I could not say that I would be here without it.
WoW has definitely changed my life too. I've traveling for tournaments and race world first events has been amazing. I've basically traveled. I've been to several different countries just for tournaments alone. So I think that playing the game has been a very, very positive experience. It's definitely changed who I am, and I'm very, very grateful for all the experiences I've been able to have playing this game.
I think the biggest thing, besides it just being like a calm space for me to like decompress, is the career shift that it gave me. Prior to working in esports, I was working at Apple for 9 years, fixing computers, taking appointments, talking to people, being customer facing. And then I go home, and this is how I decompress, is playing WoW. So it's really cool now working in esports, and like I get to manage these guys. Like this is dorky, but this really is like the highlight of my career. Like just being here at this event that like I used to watch you so much. I still do because I have to now, but
Not in a creepy
but
way.
like on Twitch, I used to watch you a lot on Twitch. Let me clarify, but it's such a pinch me moment to just like be here doing this, all because I started playing this game. So, yeah.
Same.
Yep, it's the same for me. I mean, WoW used to be my decompress game after I got done playing the other game that I was pro in, and then when I found the race, I just really wanted to do it. So it's a full circle moment to be able to compete in it here.
I hate all of you. Would I be here in this room right now? Probably not. There's no way. Had I never played WoW. But I agree with everything that you guys all said. I've made friends. I'm very appreciative for the game and the community, and being where I'm at is a gift that has been bestowed upon me by the universe, and I'm appreciative. However, in agreement with some of you, World of Warcraft has always been my decompression game. And in order to keep it that way, I might be the only one actually sitting in this room that doesn't work in esports, play on an esports team, or play WoW full time. My job is something completely different. I work 40 to 50 hours a week doing that, and I come home and all of my content, all of the World of Warcraft stuff, it's a passion project that I do to decompress and out of pure enjoyment. And I did it that way on purpose, because I knew the day it felt like a job, I wouldn't want to do it anymore. But, 2019 happened, and sometimes when you're playing for 20 hours a day and you still want to hit the go live button, you kind of have to. But I do think I would be exactly where I'm at today outside of this room if I never played WoW. I would be at least trending. I might even be better off, I'll be honest with you, to go back to the question number one.
Full circle. Nice.
I might be like an architect somewhere.
Same.
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 And then just does not say anything else. It's gonna go so crazy.